Hey, how's it going, guys? TND coming back at you. In this video, I wanted to share some of my tips and strategies that have helped me tremendously in the Queen's Blood minigame so far here in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This card game gets a little complicated as you make your way through the story, so think of this video as like a mid-game guide of sorts. I'm roughly 35 hours into the game, and my current deck can beat players up to level 7 pretty easily, and I want to show you guys how you can do that too. Let's start with the foundation, and that of course is building a solid deck. You're going to have access to 15 cards in your deck, and if you do the math, you'll usually be in a situation where you're drawing at least 11 or 12 of those cards in a given game. That means that while yes, you can draw dead sometimes, which in that case just reset the game and start over, it also means that you can build decks with one specific path in mind for every game. For me personally, I have my deck built completely around starting in the top left, then heading to the middle, then down, then working my way backwards. If the enemy AI decides to mirror me and take the top row as well, then I may try to dip into the middle row early to try and snag the center lane back from them as well. The biggest thing for me is going to be to try to secure that center lane, as well as ensuring I get 3 pawns up on the left as soon as possible, which this Archdragon play right here allows me to do as early as turn 3. I'll get back to that in just a second here, but first let's talk about card destruction decks. You're gonna run into them fairly early in the game, specifically the Twins in Under Junon, which I know have been tripping up a lot of players. So yes, I know they're annoying, but once you clear that area, you should unlock the ability to play Cameron, a level 4 player that's located in the Crow's Nest, which you gain access to after a side quest where you follow a dog around. Cameron is not too hard to beat, he's only a level 4, and beating him gives you access to your #1 tool to beat destruction decks, which is the Midgar Serpent card. This card's power is raised by 1 for every card that is destroyed on the field, so as long as you're not getting totally wrecked by the opponent's destruction cards, this guy alone can win you battles pretty easily. Once I unlocked this card, I basically built my whole deck around getting him on the field as soon as possible, and that strategy has worked better than I could have possibly hoped for so far. By the way, if you're looking to see more guides and builds like this one for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm going to be starting to release some of my favorite character builds very soon, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss those when they go live. Finally, we got to talk about replacement cards, which instead of pawn spaces, they instead take up the place of an existing ally card on the field. These have many great utility uses, but the best one I've used for it so far is to regain the middle lane control from areas that my opponents have me locked out of. There's no better feeling in this game than leaving your opponent with no moves left to make while you have spaces all over the board to work with. Now, replacement cards become much more of a thing in endgame Queen's Blood, and I'll definitely talk about that in another video. On screen, you'll see my current deck setup. Again, I would recommend you experiment with different decks. I've had to scrap and restart a few times before I've gotten to this current build that I really like a lot. If you missed my basic Queen's Blood guide video from last week, well, you're in luck. Feel free to check it out right here. Thanks again, guys.